Now back to the race for the White House, just 11 days before the Fox News Facebook first presidential debate on August 6th in Cleveland. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul will almost certainly be on that stage as one of the top 10 candidates in the national polls. Senator Paul, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
I want to start with a couple of the subjects that we discussed in the previous segment. Do you believe that Hillary Clinton broke the law in her handling of classified information on her private email? And what if the Justice Department decides not to investigate?
Well, I think it's pretty damning that President Obama's Justice Department has even brought this up. The fact that they are saying that they are concerned that classified information was transferred. But I think people have to understand how many things are classified. Even her daily schedule is classified to protect her and to protect the people who protect her. Think about if she had emailed the ambassador in Benghazi. Unfortunately, I don't think she ever did communicate with him. But had she, just tipping off people to his whereabouts through email would be something that would be very sensitive, if not classified. So that's why we have a rule, and that's why even she knew there was a rule. They actually admonished one of her ambassadors because he wasn't using the proper server. So I don't understand how she can skate by and act as if she really wasn't aware of the law.
Let me ask you also about the Planned Parenthood videos. After they were released, you offered an amendment to the highway funding bill to defund Planned Parenthood, but Senate Majority Leader McConnell is not even going to offer you a vote on that amendment. So what are you going to do now?
I think conservatives across the country are outraged by this. I've submitted a discharge petition. This is highly unusual for a non-leadership position to submit a discharge petition. This means that I'm going to try to force a vote on this. I think the time is now to discuss whether taxpayer dollars should be going to such a gruesome procedure. I mean, the doctor on video in a casual voice while sipping wine and eating brie talks about rotating the baby around so she can get better access to baby parts that she's going to harvest for sale to researchers. So I really think the time has come in our country to debate, do people want their taxpayer dollars going to this kind of procedure?
But what happens if it looks like you're not going to get a vote on the Senate floor?
They may block me today on a vote on an amendment to the highway bill, but I'm also filing cloture or trying to file for a discharge petition to have a separate bill. If I have 16 senators to sign a bill saying that they think we should defund Planned Parenthood, and I guarantee you that people across America who are outraged by this are going to call their senators and say, have you signed Rand Paul's discharge petition? Because they're going to want to vote on defunding Planned Parenthood. And I think we actually might be able to win that vote, because I think even pro-choice people are horrified by the idea of sort of preserving part of the baby and not crushing the brain so we can harvest the liver. People are outraged by this, and I think the American people deserve to have a vote on it.
Senator, let's turn to the state of your campaign. Back in December of 2013, you were running second in the polls with 17%. Last November, you ranked first in the polls with 11.8%, but now in the latest Real Clear Politics average of polls, you're in 7th place with 5.6% support. Question, why has your campaign lost momentum, sir?
I'm not so sure we have. I mean, there are a lot of polls out there, and some of the polls that we find very interesting are when you poll my candidacy head-to-head with Hillary Clinton. We actually beat Hillary Clinton in 5 states won by President Obama. We lead her in Pennsylvania that hasn't been won by a Republican since 1988. So this is what I've been saying about my candidacy. I'm a different kind of Republican. I'm a Republican who can win independent vote. In all 5 of those states, we beat Hillary Clinton by nearly 10 points among independents. That's how you win. So we have to convince enough Republicans that this is a winning message, then I can actually win the purple states. And that's what the early polling shows.
There is also a sense, in terms of your diminished status, at least in the Republican primary polls, that the world has changed on you. You were running strong in the polls a couple of years ago, even a year ago, when your positions on limits to foreign intervention, limits to domestic surveillance were very popular. But now with ISIS on the march and with increased domestic terrorism at home, there's a concern that maybe you aren't tough enough on those issues.
I think the interesting thing is we poll these issues and we ask these questions to voters all the time. And there was a poll not too long ago in Iowa, and they asked, do you think we should be more involved in foreign war like John McCain, who wants to be everywhere all the time? Or do you think we should be less involved or more judicious and only go to war when we have a threat to an American interest, a vital American interest, like Rand Paul? And it almost polls equally in Iowa. Same in New Hampshire, same in Nevada. So I think the party split on some of these things. I do want to defend America, and I will defend against terrorists. In fact, I think I would do a lot more than the others on the stage, because I think they are distracting ourselves from the real terrorist threat by collecting so much information that we get inundated by the information and we get distracted. I want to collect more information on terrorists, but I want to do it according to the way the Fourth Amendment was put forward, that suspicion should be individualized and there should be a warrant with the judge's name on it.
Senator, as you know, Fox News and Facebook are teaming together to put on the first Republican presidential debate on August 6th in Cleveland, and we are asking you, the viewers, to submit questions, either written or videos, that we're going to ask candidates on that stage. Facebook tells us that the top 3 issues among people who talk about you are taxes, intelligence gathering and privacy, and homeland security. And here's a comment from Johnny Anderson on Facebook, who writes, Senator Rand Paul is working overtime to protect homegrown terrorists. Americans are dying. Senator, how do you answer Johnny?
I think it's kind of a misunderstanding of the situation. The interesting thing is we've just had another terrorist shooting in Chattanooga. We had a Boston bombing. We had Major Hassan at Fort Hood. All of these occurred under the mass accumulation of data, the bulk collection of data that President Obama is doing, which has been ruled illegal by the courts and I think contravenes the Fourth Amendment. So we've been having these terrorist attacks despite the collection of all this information. And the interesting thing is when you look at it, I think maybe we're being distracted by too much information. Malcolm Gladwell puts it this way. He says, good decision-making isn't about knowledge or data. It's about understanding the data. So I actually want to collect more information about terrorists, but I don't want to indiscriminately collect all Americans' information and invade their privacy. So I think actually what we've been doing, even the government admits we haven't been catching any terrorists with this bulk collection of data. Congress has now said we shouldn't do it. The courts have said we shouldn't do it. And I think it goes against every sense of what the founding fathers put into the Fourth Amendment. So, no, I think my position on privacy is very popular. People under 40, 83% of people under 40 think the government shouldn't be collecting your phone records all the time.
Senator, you put out a video this week that showed you destroying the IRS tax code, and at various points you set it on fire, you feed it into a wood chipper, you use a chainsaw to take to it. And I guess the question I have, because it does seem to be a bit of a stunt, is this an effort to take the spotlight away from Donald Trump, who seems to be soaking up all of the media's attention these days?
Well, you know, I have 3 teenage sons, and the teenage sons don't watch the news channels, but they pass things around from friend to friend. And so I think what you find is that if you have something interesting or people think is clever or funny, it gets passed around from teenager to teenager. And so that's why I'm trying to put things out that sometimes will get into the hands of youth who aren't watching the traditional news.
Senator, one of your big issues in this campaign, I think you've been talking about it more than any of the other Republican candidates, is trying to grow the party. You're campaigning in inner cities. You're reaching out to minorities. Do you worry that Trump's comments about illegal immigrants coming over the Mexican border is going to hurt that effort and alienate the very kind of voters that you're trying to attract?
You know, every candidate's going to have to do what they want to do. My concern is that I want to reach out to new people, go places that no Republican has been going. So I've been to Detroit, I've been to Ferguson, I've been to the south side of Chicago, I've been to inner city Philadelphia at a boys' Latin school. I've been trying to go places that no one else is going. I've been to the historically black colleges. I'm going to keep doing that and reaching out. And when I think of immigration, I think that you do have to have a secure border, but I don't automatically think, oh my goodness, all immigrants are bad people. I think the opposite. I think of my great-grandfather who came here from Germany, and I think that most immigrants come here seeking the American dream, and I'm not going to vilify all immigrants with a broad brush. I think that there are some bad people, and I put in legislation on the sanctuary cities to try to make sure that never happens again. But I think, by and large, the people who come to our country want the American dream.
Senator Paul, thank you. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you on the campaign trail and most likely at that first debate. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Up next, our Sunday